Hello and welcome to the Virtual Speaker Success Summit. I'm your host, Erin Lomanjack, and I'm excited to have with me one of my buddies from Clubhouse. We've been sharing the stage for a couple months now, and I can't wait to bring his infinite knowledge and dedication and servitude to this summit. And Dr. Bryan McElderry, he was a pharmacist. He went to school to be a pharmacist and then decided, I don't think this is for me. If that's you, if that's what you're feeling and what you're doing right now, you want to hear this message. He is now the founder of the Shift Mentorship. His goal in his holistic life coaching practice is to help high-performing professionals and entrepreneurs master their lives and tap into a deeper understanding of themselves. Once this shift happens, you begin to see an immense amount of clarity, calmness, peace, happiness, and fulfillment out of your life. This then can trickle into areas of your life looking to optimize, whether that be your business, career, relationships, health, or spirituality. His goal is to help fill in the gap and challenge you to be the best version of yourself, to realize the full potential that you have and that you're so much more than you think. After earning his bachelor's of science of chemistry, he went on to get his doctorate in pharmacy. And during that matriculation, he felt there was a lack of focus on non-pharmacological treatment options and preventative strategies for disease states that could be reversed or prevented by simple lifestyle changes. At this point, he was very consistent in his own exercise and nutrition, decided he was ready to take this to the world and help others do what he has done. And since he's created his one-to-one mentorship coaching, podcast, newly written book, and courses. So welcome to the stage, Bryan.
Hey, Erin, it's so nice to be here. I truly appreciate it. This is going to be absolutely amazing. I'm excited to have this really good conversation. Hopefully I can give some value today as well for any listeners or watchers of this. I'm so excited to be here. I appreciate you.
Yeah, no, he's downplaying, but he's gonna deliver some golden nuggets. So don't let him downplay himself at all, because that's not okay. I talk to my brother like that. He's amazing. He's a rock star. So I'm excited to have you here. And not only have, we built a relationship off of Clubhouse, we've now feel like we're doing business, and now we feel like we're doing life together. There's so many crossovers, and I can't wait that app that came out during COVID became it's been such a connection piece for so many of us. And so many of us is in this industry, as March 13th hit and the whole speaking industry and event industry shut down. So I'm excited to bring that into my own business and bringing people like him to our stages to really give such deep advice and just live from that place. And I'm just so glad to have you here. And I know you probably didn't wake up at 5 and go, I want to be a pharmacist, and then I might think that I want to shift to become a life coach. So
yeah,
how did you get? Tell us a little bit more about how you got to where you are today.
Yeah, great question. Everyone, I want you to imagine you've been asked this question of what do you want to do when you grow up, or who do you want to be? And I remember in that moment, I was sitting down in my house in Birmingham, Alabama, that I can still go back to this day, that I still was brought home at the hospital in, which is really cool. And I remember my mom and my dad asking me, son, what do you want to do with your life? And as hard as that question was to answer at that age, I remember only resorting to what was available to me. So what was available to me was just school and the organizations that I was a part of in Birmingham, Alabama. And I said, I guess I'm good at science. I guess I like biology and things. And I remember choosing that at an early age, that I was going to be a doctor. And there's a picture of me with a doctor's outfit on, and I'm little Bryan, if you can imagine that, running around. And I have a younger brother, and it was like I was treating him and I'd be holding him. And I just remember that moment like it was yesterday. So maybe you've experienced that, where you remember a time where you were asked what did you want to be or who you wanted to be. And to me, that's the most restricting place a child can be, because it doesn't allow the freedom for that child to really expand of what they could be or who they could be. So fast forward, I matriculate through high school, enjoy chemistry, and go into college at Morehouse College, and got my bachelor's in chemistry, not knowing that I truly enjoyed psychology, sociology, religion, And I didn't know why. I was bypassing that because I was so focused on this goal that I chose when I was young. I matriculated into pharmacy school straight out at 22 years old, not knowing anything about life, but thinking I knew everything. And my pivotal moment that happened for me and not to me was my family began to have chronic health issues and they were on a lot of medications, specifically my grandmother, who I would go to the pharmacy with in high school. And that's really where I began asking a lot of questions to the pharmacist saying, hey, this seems like a great job because you're taking care of my grandmother. I want to be a part of that. And I want to know how you did it. So I remember going through pharmacy school and she came ill, and it gets me choked up sometimes because it was a pivotal moment for me to set the example as a case study for myself. So I began practicing on myself as a holistic health coach, not knowing that that was something that I was wanting to maybe lean into, transform my whole body, transform my mind. It actually improved my grades in school. And I started my first business, as I thought, in pharmacy school. 2 days before my pharmacy school graduation, walk across the stage with my grandmother not being there. She passed away 2 days prior. That was when everything shifted. I started my first business as a holistic health coach, and there was transformation from there into life coaching as my clients began to ask different questions of me as they were improving their lives and their careers and their relationships. And I said, it's not just the body anymore. It's something more than that. So that's where I'm residing now and constantly expanding upon there and more details intertwined. But that's really how I got from pharmacy and health and that question of childhood to now.
No, I think this brings up such a great thing because, growing up, I wanted to be a dolphin trainer. That was my goal. I wanted to be a dolphin trainer. And
Ah,
so I did. I became a dolphin trainer. I got my undergrad in psychology because as I went to train dolphins as a volunteer during my internship, they said, you don't need a marine biology degree. And I was like, thanks, because I'm not so good at this math stuff. Love the math, man, it was painful. And so they were like, no, you just need a psych degree or a teaching degree. And I'm like, well, I love what motivates people. I'm in. So I went back, got my undergrad in psychology with a minor in addiction studies, went on to marry my husband and was dolphin training, would only make $8.50 an hour and living in the Florida Keys. That was like maybe some top ramen. I'd work at a restaurant to be able to eat. Let's just
ooh,
because it's so expensive down there to live. But I wanted to live out my dreams. And at $8.50 an hour,
yeah.
I'm like, this probably isn't going to be long lasting,
We got to change this.
So that's when I went to school to be a therapist. I love
Mhm.
the psychology of people, what motivates and moves them. So, and then after that, I was 10 credits shy and I dropped out because I'm an empath, and having 10 people a day dump out the darkest stuff, the deepest
Mm.
stuff, and sit in it all day long was not for me. And I am a person driven by results. So listening to people
Yep.
complain and not change was not for me. So, that's when I went out and became a coach before it became so popular and so known, because I thought, at least as a coach, they're coming for transformation. They're coming for change. And I'd been a coach my whole life, coaching volleyball and softball all the way up to college. And so I was like, coach, I can fit that. But it's always funny to listen, like how sometimes our life path can have these not a straight path to, here I am, a speaking coach, because I never thought I'd be a speaking coach either. I was a business coach who just got really good at it and everyone kept asking me how to do it. And I was like, oh, there's a need, I can fill that. And so I love that you're also unpeeling that level, because I think you're right. When you get stuck thinking that this is what I want forever, like a dolphin trainer, I really thought
Mm.
that since I was like 8 years old. But then to go do it and go, I love this, but this is a lot of hard work if I have to make 8.50 an hour. And how am I going to raise a family? How am I going to do anything if this is, what I'm doing? So I love that you're kind of peeling back the onion of how you got to where you are, because I think that's a little bit of what you teach people. You talk about finding your purpose. So, there's
Mhm.
probably a lot of people out there listening and going, well, my parents told me I should be a doctor, lawyer, or an accountant. Well, I didn't make that. So now what? And they're in a job because they went through that and they're like, there's a call for more. What is this purpose calling me to?
Yeah.
Tell me, how do you help people kind of unpeel that onion for themselves?
Man, this is a great question. I actually just got this question recently from a really close friend of mine, and he asked me this basic question. He said, Bryan, I know you talk about this stuff. I've listened to your podcast, I've watched all your stuff, and I have a very simple question that just been racking my brain. What does fulfillment actually mean? Like, what does that mean when you break that down? And I had to look it up more in depth because I talk about purpose and finding your story and all that kind of stuff and the lessons in the mess. But I said, well, what is the definition of purpose? And to me, fulfillment coincides with happiness. So then how do you find happiness? And what I find is that a lot of people find themselves trying to attach to either a title or an external version of themselves that they aren't able to really see, feel, touch. It's like I see it, I believe it, maybe, but now I just don't think it can happen. So I stay right where I am and I just pick something that's very familiar. So to answer your question, I created a method called the SVO method. Many people are familiar with SEO, search engine optimization, a story and a value and an offer, an opportunity, or an outcome. And most people seek the outcome and their opportunity or create an offer for their life or business. I try to say, well, what is the story? I know you're familiar, Aaron. What is the story that we are telling ourselves about either the 5-step version of ourselves ahead or either the story that we're retracting back 5 steps previous to us? And then what are the lessons in that story and the value within that that you can deliver out to people? So that's really the framework that I work through to really help my clients or anyone that just comes to me and asks that question.
Yeah, I think it's great because a lot of people go, I don't know what I want to do. I don't know what I want to be. I don't know what this call for more is, right? Like I hear
Yeah.
a whisper. Well, what the heck do you want from me? I don't hear anything more than a whisper on that. And I love that you're like, okay, let's just examine like what you've gone through in your life, what you get lit up about, what are you passionate about, what can you serve people with your story? I mean, the stories we tell all the time on Clubhouse is really truly the people that come. I have a group that we teach how to do talk in 1 minute, tell your story in a minute and get feedback. And it's keep coming with different stories, keep evolving your story, making it better because
Yeah.
that's what happens when you really tell a really great story. People are like, ooh, I want more. What? Tell me, how do you do this? As this SVO thing, like I need to know more because I love you and I love your story and how can you do it for me, right? And so I just think this is really a great place for people to go, okay, so if I don't know who I want to be when I grow up, I
Yeah.
have someone like Bryan that can kind of help me walk through what are my experiences, what are the stories I have, what are the passions I have, how can I serve with it?
Mm.
I,
Yeah. Yeah, it's so key to me, and I think that we get so stuck on an attachment of what one thing is instead of the experiences that we're having each and every day that we're not able to be present in the moment because we're going, trying to capture more knowledge when history tells us that more knowledge is really not what we need because history repeats itself. There's nothing new under the sun. I am a believer, so I truly believe that everything that we're experiencing currently and the thing that you're looking for, someone else has either done or they're currently doing. And what can you learn from those that have done it that you can recreate and put your own spin and your own DNA on it and move forward?
I love that. So I know you brought up fulfillment. So what does fulfillment really mean for you? Since you've had to.
Ooh, you opened that door, didn't you?
Uh-huh.
Um, Fulfillment to me at this point in my life means peace, and peace in the sense that everyone around me can find happiness and fulfillment in their lives. That gives me peace. What wakes me up out of my sleep now is when other people are so lost in the chaos of life that they're losing themselves. And that's what gets me up every day to continue doing the work that I do. And to me, that's what gives me peace and happiness and fulfillment to keep going because I don't really see a ceiling. I keep going because I see something so much more expansive that I can learn something new every single day. When I'm in clubhouse friends with Aaron and other friends, and I'm just learning every single day and then passing that information on. I never withhold it within myself.
I love that. No, and I think it's true. So like, One of the things that I love about what you talk about is your story of like, I thought I had it all together. I thought
Mm.
fulfillment looked like having a wife and the house and the things and the job and so tell us a little bit about that for you, and then how that defining moment decided that something else was calling you.
Yeah. So I've told this story more recently and it shocks people. And I think Erin just recently heard it, and maybe I'm leading into something that she's getting to, but we all seek love in some way, whether it's trying to love ourselves or from other people or partners or boyfriends, girlfriends, whoever you might have in your life, family. And most people don't want to be alone at the end of the day. So for me, I had a relationship that I was in for about 7.5 years. It was kind of my college sweetheart, and we moved together through life all the way through grad school. And I moved down to Dallas with her. And any man that's been asked, you're either moving for a job or you're moving for a woman. Okay. So I did both. Okay. And in that, it was at the same time that I was trying to find myself, and I ended up parting ways with pharmacy. And for any women out there that really value security, that was the type of woman I was with. She really valued a man that could be secure in the finances and the white picket fence lifestyle, and having that. And that's okay. But there was so much growth going on within me. I remember leaving the house and I came back after working on the business, and I opened the door and all of our stuff is gone. We had a little Maltipoo puppy, and all of the stuff is gone. And I remember in that moment, if you can envision yourself there, just standing there, looking at an empty place that you've built memories and that you've built a life with a person. We were about 6 months into an engagement, and I didn't know what to do. So I dropped to my knees at that moment and I asked myself, not why, but what? And what can you do now, Bryan, to learn more about yourself and to impact the world? And what could you have done better? Because you can't blame anyone else for this at this moment. That was her choice, and that's anyone's right to have a choice for their life. So it allowed me at that moment to pivot very powerfully into this shift mentorship and these frameworks and life coaching. And I learned so much in that moment because it removed all the things that I thought life meant. Having these things, having the house, having the person on your arm. And I literally had in that moment only me and the clothes on my back. And it was humbling for some. So it's just transformational that if you aren't going to choose, life will choose it for you regardless, right? So why not be in the driver's seat in some way of your life to say, I have a choice and I can create a belief around that choice that will evoke an action and a result for my life.
I love that. It is so true, because when you're in those moments when you're on your knees and like, I don't even know what, where, how, what do you want from me? Like, I thought this was it. To
Yeah.
like the rug ripped out from underneath you. Now what do you think?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Like, that is such a pivotal moment to go, I need to look inside, because
Mm-hmm.
the outside isn't working. The fulfillment that we think we're seeking is out here. And like you saying but it's in here first.
Yeah.
And and that's the one thing that I think that a lot of people are scared to do.
Yep.
Most
Yep.
people want to dig it all up, go, okay, let's get through this closet of skeletons I've been hiding. And so instead of that, they just close the door and pretend it doesn't exist.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what happens is that door starts to pop open because there's too much stuff in there. And eventually, we're like the beach ball, pushing it down, pushing it down. Eventually, it's going to pop back up, right?
Yep.
So for people that are scared to look, for people who are like, I might be in a dark place now. I might have lost my business. I might have lost my job due to COVID and all the things that's happened in the last year. How do I start unpacking some of that stuff without having a full come apart where I can't put myself back together? Because I think that's what people are scared of, right?
Yeah.
If I unpeel all of it, I open the door, oh my God, how am I going to clean it back up? Right? And so what would be your advice to helping someone that's really feeling that urge to do something, looked around, not happy with the results in their life, but they're like, I don't know what to do. And I'm scared.
Yeah. Yeah. I know you will resonate with this, Aaron, and any professional that is listening to this that's familiar with the trans-theoretical behavioral change model and really understanding how you can get very deep into this self-awareness of you and develop those result-driven actionable steps that you actually want. So the first thing I always teach my clients or tell anyone that comes to me is say, let's change the way we're talking and seeing it as a failure or something happening. You're opening a door. And what I use is an opportunity and a win for the day. So each and every time you open a door and you get hit and bombarded with these things that you can't handle, I like to first verbalize it as, okay, what, that's the opportunity. No, Bryan, I didn't do well today. No, it's an opportunity. Okay, my opportunities today, Bryan, are my wins today, Bryan, are. So if we begin to talk to ourselves like that, it's a decision that we get to make. And in that decision, you create a belief around that decision. So the word that you're speaking is coming out into a belief system. And then you're able to move to a positive action because you're bringing a better self to the forefront. And ultimately, why most people feel like they can't do something is because obviously they have a lack of self-confidence. And self-confidence is just a lack of trust in oneself, right? It's confiding in oneself. You don't trust yourself. So if we can get you to trust more in yourself by saying, I can handle whatever comes, then that's where I feel like people can begin opening these doors, like you say, and pushing down the beach ball. And when it explodes, it's like, okay, let me go find another one. Let me put it back together, whatever. Right? So it's so cool to see when you can empower people instead of feeling like you need to save people. And I think that's the difference that I love the work that I'm doing and any other transformational coach or leader is doing in that space.
I love that. That's so true because I think a lot of us, I mean, I went to school to be a therapist. I want to save the world.
Yeah.
The world, then I'll be worthy. That was the thing, you know? And what I love about what you just said was the reframe of starting to look for opportunity and wins. Because if you
Mm,
shift that, you actually are gaining the evidence. The old evidence of not enough, the old evidence of how stupid I am or think I am, and I'm not skinny enough, not tall enough, not fat enough, not pretty enough, not blonde enough, not dark enough, not light enough, not whatever enough.
Yep.
All have the box. That we have so many years of evidence that we've collected in that box. So that feels so real to go to, well, I don't I don't see any of the positives. What do you mean? But when you start asking and looking for wins and opportunities, you start to go, oh, I'm collecting evidence every day that there's a new belief system. And so that box, you fill that evidence up, that neural
Mm,
pathway starts to die off. When you stop feeding it, it dies off. So you're starting to build a new neural pathway by asking it to look for the positives and gain more and more and more evidence of that every day, that eventually you're like, oh, not enough. That doesn't even trigger me enough. I'm good over here.
mm. I love that. I love that. And I think too, Aaron, what I find is that the work that we're doing and the work that I'm doing, we get bombarded with people looking for help consistently. And if you're seeking help, understand that you're not broken, that there are people out there that have done what you've done. And what I truly believe is the work of empowerment. And if we can empower more people, then you can step into being that powerful speaker or that coach or that leader in your workplace or your family or wherever it is you're trying to do. But you stepping into that will allow you to handle whatever is to come and those insecurities that might creep up from your gut into your mind and then come out where it feels like you're fumbling words or whatever you might be doing or not creating what you want to create. So I love that you said that.
Yeah. And if you think about it, like those thoughts create behaviors, create habits, and then you just,
Mm,
evidence just keeps building up and it becomes a perpetual cycle until you decide to break the cycle. Today's the
yep.
day. No longer am I looking at everything with the glass half empty, and actually look at it from the glass half full and start to look for other places that shows up. Because if you
Mhm.
start to focus there, your reticular activator kicks in. It's like, where else is this positive? Where else can I find more of this? And it really does literally rewire your brain. So I just love that we're talking all psychology, like you said, psychology, sociology. Let's get into some neuroscience here.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is the jam, right? I love that you might have studied. And the funny thing is, I actually studied chemicals on the brain because I was doing my minor in addiction studies. So I was looking at all the different meds people were taking from that standpoint in addiction, but also in the all the stuff that does the brain, like antidepressants and all the things, right? So I had to study that in school too, and I always thought it was really interesting and how they come up with these ideas and bringing things together. But I think that's exactly what you're doing in a whole new way now, because you're adding, lifestyle changes, nutrition, balances, because also let's talk about it. Nutrition also affects your brain and the way you see the world and the way you feel. If you're depressed and you keep eating crap food, how are you going to feel? Crappy.
Exactly.
I love that you're kind of making your own compound element here.
Yeah. It's not even out on the periodic table of elements. So I'm just combining all of it. So
should be. Confidence, purpose. My friend actually created the resilience element, and he makes it look like the element on the periodic table, which is pretty cool.
Oh, I love that.
Oh, you might be able to, as I'm copying other people's things. No, just teasing. No, I love this. And what do you think? What's the biggest thing that people come to when they're seeking help? A lot of times when they're looking at you and they're coming to you, what's the biggest thing people come to you with? Like, I don't know who I am. I don't know what fulfillment is. I don't know what success is. What is that big question that most of your clients come to you with?
Yeah, I have two questions that typically come to me. It's either more of a statement first. Bryan, I want something, right? And I have to dive a little bit deeper into in the reasoning why they want that before I just give what I think is best for that, right? Projecting things on people when they didn't even ask for that. And the other question is, I don't really know. It doesn't feel right. Right? Like they can't verbalize it, but this doesn't feel right. And I know I need to pivot. So it's two different types of questions that come. And both of those questions are very, very surface level. So for me, I also have neurolinguistic program training and master practitioning. So if no one's familiar with that, how to reprogram the mind by asking more powerful questions, creating visualization tools, creating anchors, and allowing them to come out with what they feel deep in by me posing questions back to them, right? So those are the two biggest questions that I typically get, or the people that kind of come to me typically. And then we
I love it because
break it apart.
The quality of your questions determines the quality of your outcomes. So it's like, yeah. So if they have these questions like, I don't know, who am I supposed to be? What is more? And you're like, let me ask you some questions.
Yeah.
But I also love I love anchoring things in. I have trigger mechanisms. This is a trigger for me.
I love it.
I have things around my office. I have rebar that I bent with my throat. I have a board I broke. I have a lot of things that trigger me to remind me of who I was and how far I've come. And so I love what you're talking about, because if you don't have a constant reminder, it's really easy to slip back into an old habit. So having something like this reminds me of receiving. This is my receiving hand, receiving infinite love from the universe and to myself. And so it really was a breakthrough on self-worth for me during it was a 90-day program, and they were like, what's your biggest, limiting belief? And mine was not worthy. And so when I brought that forward, it was really about not worthy of receiving love, not being able to accept love, that kind of thing. And so I was like, oh, so this reminds me every single day. So finding things like that help remind you of the new belief system.
Yes, I completely agree. And I think most people are looking for this magical thing, which it's right in front of you a lot of times. Like you said, Aaron, like you've had things that you've done, but you could have thrown them away. And you kept them in their space because it's a reminder of the lesson learned and not the actual object that was in the way of the anger, frustration, or whatever it might be. Right. So I love the way that you re-engineered that. I think that's where most people are seeking typically, is how do I do that? How do I get to that level?
Yeah. So if people are like, I have this belief and I don't know how to fix it. I don't know what's up. I don't know what's stopping me. Because I'm not living up to my full potential. That's why I'm coming to you. You think you can help me get to my full potential, my best self. What do I do with this belief? So what would be the first thing to help somebody right now, like even kind of think, what's at play for me? How do you help them?
Yeah, what's a play that someone could use right now? I would challenge people in their belief system to have a column, two columns that you can write. So I'm a huge believer of taking what's in our mind and either vocalizing it or allowing yourself to transcribe it. So have two different columns and write on the left hand side a belief at the top. On the left hand side, what is a win out of that belief? And do I feel an attachment to that belief that I don't think I can do it? And you will energetically feel yourself move to the right side of the paper. And when you feel that, you know that you're able to transmute that energy over to the other side. And what that will do for people is allow you to detach from the word because it's come from your body out of your mouth onto a paper, and you literally transferred the energy, and then you write the new energy. So when you write that, now what that does is say, okay, I am ready now, Bryan, to receive the masculine structured steps of what's next. That could be, I need to raise at my job. I need to talk to my partner. I need to create a business. Like, but we have to do that before we just jump into masculine structure steps. So a belief system, that's typically what I do as an exercise to kind of get that out of their minds onto a place where they can see it and then transfer that energy over to another side.
And I love that because I like to read. So one of the things that I did with this was to
Mm.
establish a new belief and a new thing. So at the time it was, I am a worthy. That was the hardest one to get out of my mouth since I went. I'm a worthy, accepting, peaceful woman committed to love and intimacy in my life now. I said it every single day, as many times as possible. But what my brain did was look for, oh, look, I didn't judge that person. Look, I'm accepting. Look here, my chatter's not so loud. I'm feeling more peaceful, right? I'm
Mhm.
worthy. Like you started to see the evidence, the new evidence. And so I love that you talk about, okay, you write it down. Now start putting it into practice. One of mine right now sits on my wall right there. It says, I choose to trust the divine timing of the universe, even if I don't understand it. And that reminds me that it might not be on my time frame. It might come a different way. It might come out sideways. It might come in a blue box and a brown box or whatever, but I can choose to trust the divine timing of the universe, right? And so I
Yeah.
love for you to put those things into practice and really make it a part of everyday life. Because like you're saying, if you can come up with wins and opportunities in that, and you're finding, okay, this is my new belief system, I'm worthy, and then finding those wins and opportunities that you found that day of you proving your worth and being worthy and feeling worthy more and more every single day.
No, I love that, Aaron. And I think that work that needs to be done because the work that we do and the work that a lot of our fellow leaders and colleagues do, we have steps that we feel like are very easy to run a business or to do what we do on a daily basis. But we're able to do that because we're able to energetically step into that space. What we hear all the time, and myself included, is I there's so much internal battle going on, and we're just like, take the leap, take the leap, take the leap. And like, I can't. So we have to break that first to get people to step into that next step or whatever they actually come and say, I want this.
Right.
Yeah.
I love this is such a great, discussion. And I know you have a freebie for us. It's about
Mhm.
finding your purpose and being able to really kind of look at like what's coming up for me. What do I really want? What does that call for more for me? So tell people about your free gift and where else people can find you on all the platforms.
Yeah. Yeah, this has been amazing. I appreciate the coffee conversation, and I'm able to share some nuggets with people as well. So hopefully you enjoyed it if you're listening or watching. And Aaron, this has been absolutely amazing thus far. So my freebie is a free purpose training. It goes through 3 different ways that you can tell stories to yourself. You must start with the story of self, story of now, and the story of us. So when you create those 3 stories, then you're able to see what your actual new belief system is, and then we move forward to the next step of what you actually want versus saying, I want this, and you stepping into that new space, not knowing who you are. That's a dangerous place to be. So we walk through that in that training.
Yeah, it can be dangerous when you're like, oh, I'm over here, but well, I don't know what's over here. It's all new.
Exactly.
And I think also like what I love is you're kind of peeling back, like it can be a new normal for you, but it
Mhm.
doesn't have to feel so uncomfortable because it was the unknown. So many people are afraid of opening that closet because of the unknown of what would happen. And so with you talking through those steps, it doesn't feel so unknown anymore. And so there's
Mhm.
a little bit of certainty when you step into it because you've worked through it to get to that. And I just love what you do. So that's really awesome.
I appreciate it, Aaron. This has been absolutely amazing.
All right. So now that everyone, oh, and they can find you where on social media? What
They
plat
can
like
find me on all platforms. It's at Dr. McElderry, DrMcElderry. And then you can search my name on Google, and that's my website, bryanmcelderry.com. And I'm on all platforms with that name.
I love it. And don't forget to jump into Clubhouse and follow
In the
him.
clubhouse.
Always given such value bombs on the stage. So you don't want to miss that. So I'm going to wrap it up with the last question that I ask all my guests. So I talk about my future self being ELJ. She's a $40 million company. She sat on the trees with Oprah,
Mm.
New York Times bestselling author. She's done it all. So when I need advice, I pull her forward and I ask her what I should do, what opportunity should I take, whatever I'm struggling with, and get her opinion on that. So if I was to bring your future self here today, Bryan, what would he say to you?
Ooh. First, he would say, congratulations, young man. Say congratulations for never leaving yourself and staying present in the moment and continuously giving and loving on people. You're now able to see the future version of yourself where all that work was put in and those people were transformed. And now you're able to sit 5 years later and say, good job.
Love that. And how many, I mean, let's be honest, how many of our future selves would say that to all of us, right? Like, you've already made it. Like, you've done it. Or like, hey, stop.
Exactly.
We're always chasing the next thing. And we sometimes don't go, whew, look how far I've come. Wow.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah, yeah.
Celebrate that. It was work, and yes, did we grow through it, and it was painful, and then it was exciting, and then it was I can teach people from it and transform other people's lives. But sometimes it's like, where would I start? Where did I start at?
Mhm. Yes.
Thank you so much for being here and sharing all your wonderful knowledge. Please feel free, download that free gift. Get in touch with Bryan if you're being called, because he really can help you kind of uncover those limiting beliefs, those hidden programs that might be getting in your way of leading to your full potential and your purpose on this planet. I can't wait to hear what you do with this work. And we will see you in the next session, and I will see you on stage.